We're ready. All right.
All right.
Class 8.
8.
Out of 15, right?
20.
So we're halfway there.
I'm sitting today.
Yes. Huh, only one class. So just tonight, Wednesday break to get caught up.
How's studying going? Sorry, are you gonna?
I was gonna say, how's everyone doing with what he said?
Is everybody caught up? Anything anybody struggling with? Oh, should I get online?
You
Do
probably
we have
should.
people?
Mm-hmm.
We have people on?
I don't know. Lori was on.
I
I think
mean-
Lori's.
Because otherwise I'll have to write my presentation for this Monday.
Lori's online.
All right.
Lori, interrupt and chime in if there's a good question that we need to address.
No, but you guys are all, how many of you are planning on taking the exam like shortly after the mentor program? All of you? Some of you? Yeah?
Maybe a couple of months.
Couple months? Yeah. Just what I would suggest is create a schedule, you know, because what I've seen a lot is, you know, time goes by and then you kind of just, you know, if you get into a schedule, set a schedule for yourself, you know, if you're going to take the exam some amount of time after the class, then I think it'll be better.
I would actually,
You know, you'll just stay on it.
yeah, buy the exam for that time.
Oh,
Hold
there you
yourself
go.
accountable.
I had to, when you took it, did they have it on the thing? The computer?
Yes, but it wasn't the adaptive.
So
It's
they-
still 250.
2 tests a year, I think, or something like that when I took it.
Yeah.
So you had to like schedule it. Those are not going to get in. But that is a good technique
Yeah,
to schedule it and then be ready.
otherwise it's easy to keep pushing off. I'm not ready. There's still more to learn. There's still more to learn. I did that for years.
How do you know if you're ready though?
How do you know if you're ready? When you take the test. Probably.
Yeah. So when you're going through the practice tests, you know, I think you need roughly 70% on the actual exam to pass.
Yeah.
I always tried to, I was probably too OCD. And that wasn't enough for me. So I was consistently 90 to 95 on the practice test, but I had people right around 80 on practice tests. So they're usually pretty good.
So if you're consistently 80 on the practice test, you think they're probably ready?
At least you should feel pretty confident. It's not a guarantee, but
He said it's guaranteed.
you just heard it's and guarantee in a sentence,
Yeah, I had a burp in the middle.
right? All right. 106 slides. Everybody's ready to go. And we're gonna get through chapter 6. Awesome. Hey, we have the correct email on the presentation.
I did that.
And I looked for it to make sure. I was like, oh, yeah, okay, it's right. All right. So yeah, there's some activity going on. So that's good. Get on there and chat. All right. Will the real test be this easy too? Probably not. What is the most secure type of firewall? Come on.
The one that's not managed by, it's me.
Well, it's not managed. The application layer, right? Because it's going to maintain every connection.
Yeah, it's 7 layers.
Yeah.
Remember how many layers the
It's
circuit proxy?
It's up to 5?
5.
5. Yeah. So it's just going to be memorization to know what those different levels of firewall cover.
Mhm.
All right. LAN protocol has no error recovery, relying on higher level protocols to provide reliability. So it's just it's really just the connection.
It's not, they're not as loud this time.
No, it's a little. Maybe they took the technical stuff a little too lightly.
Too deep.
Frame relay.
It's a frame. They have checks though.
Frame relay.
But it's not doing error recovery.
Oh, you're right.
You gotta read.
Say, listen to him. He's evil today. Aha.
All right, most secure type of EAP. peep is at Easter time, those little candies.
Yeah. And leap is what the leprechauns do on St. Patty's Day.
All right. What endpoint security technique is most likely to prevent a previously unknown attack from being successful? There's a couple keys on this one. The biggest one is a previously unknown attack. So signature based only knows what's there, right? What's already been identified. A HIDS isn't gonna do that. A perimeter firewall is dependent on the rules. So application whitelisting, why? It's only gonna allow what you've said to allow.
Why are you giving them an explanation? You say, why? Because they said so.
Boom. Right. I'm trying to add some value.
Oh.
I don't want to, not too much, because I'm going to read the rest of the slides and do nothing.
That's the thing, because now I'm creating his slides and he's creating mine. So he doesn't know.
It's a little bit more
Some of the
entertaining for both of us. All right. Wireless security protocol is also known as RSN and implements full 802.11i standard. Yeah, WPA2. And restricting Bluetooth device discovery relies on secrecy of what?
These guys just are
Man,
not this like fired up as normal.
They're slacking. MAC address.
Ha! See, I did the ha that time.
Man. All right.
Was that cool or what? Did you guys feel that was good? Easy? No?
No. This is where you start realizing, yeah, some of these parts I know a lot of. When you start looking at the sheer volume overall, you just start blanking out on some of those things that you knew.
Security's a lot of work.
Yeah. All right. So tonight, finish up, or domain 5, authentication methods, access control technologies and models. Yeah, not challenging, but again, I think what you start to see is it's almost that snowball effect where just the sheer volume of information coming your way, it's just, if you get behind.
You guys have gotten over the hardest part.
Yeah. It's just remembering all this, so. 293 on the book. All right. Memorize all of them. We'll go through these real quick. No, seriously though, this is a good cheat sheet. You will need to know all of these and what the differences are. So, we'll go through a crossover error rate when you have a false reject, false accept, where they meet. So you want to have false accept rate where, we'll go through these. I don't want to go through too much because we have slides on them, and then that kind of defeats the point of having the slides if I cover it all on one slide. So we'll go through all of these. You'll get the slide deck for this. You'll have to memorize and know how to tell all these things apart, what they are, what is approved, what's ideal or not. So we'll go through all this in the slides though. Authentication methods. Authentication, this is who I am, right? You have to identify yourself, but you can't trust it, right? Anybody can come in and say, hey, I'm Evan. That's an identification. Authentication is improving it. So how do you do that? That's where you see the multi-factor, right? Something you have, something you know, something you have, or something you are, right? So two or more of those are multi-factor. Identification, hey, here's who I am. Authentication, proving it.
And sometimes where you are.
Yeah, and sometimes where you are, you can have geofencing or geolocation in place, but that can be spoofed. It's not really reliable.
Did I guys tell you guys about the, first class, 12 ways to hack MFA, that presentation given by Roger Grimes? It's a good presentation. If you need it, just email, or maybe I'll get it. That's
I think we put it on there, didn't we? I don't know. Just Slack or send it to Brandon, he'll put it in.
All right, yeah, it's the one he gave at RSA this year. It was a good
Okay.
presentation.
So for the authentication, type 1, something you know, password, passphrase, PIN number. right? That's the one we're all probably the most familiar with. So that's type 1. Something about them, right? Passphrases are longer passwords. It's a sentence, a phrase. That's what we want to go to. Less randomness, but really when you're looking at passwords now, length is the best way to get to security. So a short, complex, random one is not necessarily as strong as 20 character, 25 character sentence that you know. Yeah, one-time passwords, so single authentication, right? So you get the email for the one time. Right? Sometimes you'll get that when you sign up, or if you forget your password, right? You'll get this one-time password. Secure but difficult to manage. Once it's used, it's no longer valid. So it is secure if done correctly. How do we get that across? That becomes a different conversation, but for the test, you'll just need to know that. Dynamic, so yeah, the regular interval sync of the RSA tokens, right? The authenticator apps that constantly rotate that 6-digit number, that 6-digit PIN. Those are your dynamic passwords. From here, they look at the RSA token, that secure ID. Those are pretty expensive. Now you can get them in an app form on your phone and register the phone. That's how you can prove a little bit more cost-effective way of doing it. So the strong authentication, simply more than one version. So you can have just the dynamic password, or you could have a password and the dynamic password. You just have to have multiple types of authentication. All right, yeah, password hashes, cracking. So clear text passwords should not be stored in an IT system, only the hashed output. We keep hearing about breaches where that's not the case, unfortunately. But yeah, so hashing, one-way encryption using the algorithm no key. So what happens, you put your password in the first time you set it up, it runs it through, it comes out with a hash. So then when you authenticate the next time you put in your password, it's just comparing hashes, right? So, and that way you can't go backwards, right? So if somebody takes the hash, there's no way to tell what the passwords were. You would have to run through all the passwords and look for the hashes to match. That's a lot more difficult. If, again, the algorithm used to hash it is good. Yeah, you can run the hash algorithm forward, trying to find a match. That's where you get the cracking. And that's how you know, I put in this plain text through the algorithm, I get this hash. Well, if I have this hash, what plain text matches it? Easy.
I have a Wikipedia page.
All right. Evan's going to make sure this class isn't easy for me. So where are the passwords stored? Unix, Linux, it's known, right? Etsy Shadow, only typically by root. Well, if somebody gets into your system, they're going to know where to go to find the hashes. Windows on the domain controller, there's well-known ways of dumping the hash for AD, for where to go to get it for Linux, how to get to it. So what they'll do is they'll dump the hash and then run cracking tools against that. Some tools, Kane Enable, it's been around forever, still works.
Does still work.
Yeah, I don't think you need to know really a whole lot about it, just that it's a cracking tool. You don't have to know how it works.
Download it though and play with it as long as you don't get in trouble at work.
You can do it on your local machine, create some user accounts.
2014.
That may be the last version.
That was the last version, yeah. 2014.
Wow. So types of attacks, you will need to know this. Dictionary attack, literally going to be using a word list. That's like the dictionary, right? We're just going to span those through and try them. It's really fast, but not effective. Well, if people have good passwords. Yeah, so tuning the dictionary. So if you know regionally, they'll do it, cities, Spanish, as it says up there, in a specific vertical, healthcare, for example, maybe, right? So it will, yes, tune their dictionaries, and there's a really cool, it's actually a really cool website with all the word lists. You can look and see what you can download and run as known dictionary lists. Yeah, so you have to have the special character, right? The number, uppercase, lowercase, and 8 characters. Well, that's a known constraint. And what typically most people do, they have absolute minimum they have to. So you'll start there. You already know if you're cracking passwords, what people are going to go with, or at least limiting characters or sets. Let's see, it doesn't on there. So can enable this is in the book. Can enable crack Deckard's password with a dictionary attack. Password is replicant, shown as replicant in all caps. So LM hash, if you're using that in Active Directory, it ignores case. So instead of 52 possible characters, it's really only 26, which makes it a lot easier. Yeah, so lock down access to SAN file or shadow file. That's what you need to know. Brute force, so that's going to take more time. So it's going to calculate the hash for every possible password. So it's going to just everything, just run it through and compare, and eventually it will match. How long it takes, well, that's kind of where the length of your password is the prevention against it. At the end of the day, brute force will eventually work. It's just a matter of how long is it going to take. Wow. Evan.
No,
I
that
was ready.
what the hell was it? No, it really wasn't me.
That was me.
Somebody's dog bark.
This is Chad.
Hi, Chad.
Is that Chad's dog?
I'm muting myself or my dog. Sorry. Carry on.
I was going to blame Evan.
Chad, I have a Wikipedia page.
Hey, I got a quick story. One time I was doing a delivery. I was talking about encryption and controlling encryption keys and protecting them. And I used the example. I said, let's say your dog ate your encryption key, and literally at that moment, my dog barked, and it was great. Everyone started laughing. So little security humor.
Little levity.
I like it.
Thank you, Chad.
Yeah.
Same thing for you. I don't think you were on earlier. Told Lori, if there's a good question online or whatever, don't hesitate to chime in.
Don't hesitate to
Chime in.
not ask it.
Throw me off. All right. Now CPU speed is increasing, parallel computing, right? Brute force is coming down in terms of how long it takes. Rainbow table, it's going to be a pre-computed list of all the hashes. So you just run that through. You don't have to calculate hashes. You're just doing a comparison. Rainbow table is not complete, but they're really cool. Hybrid attack, you're just changing the characters. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I like how I'm making this sound so easy.
It is.
And they're all like,
You guys ever cracked passwords before? It's sort of fun.
It is.
So, again, don't do it on your work computer.
Unless you have approval.
Unless you have approval, right? But it is, these are all, we all have a favorite tool that we use. We'll use it for password auditing sometimes, right? So you won't really know how strong people's passwords are in the company unless you audit them. So one way you would do it was you'd take a password cracker and try to crack the password.
Download the hash and see what you can do.
And then every password that you compromise, you just, obviously make sure that they change their password, and then it's a good training opportunity.
I know they try to do that as part of the internal pen testing. When they do that, is one of the objectives is to try and get the hash and see what they can crack in a certain amount of time.
Yeah, and brute force, he was saying, all brute forces work, but then you remember collisions, right? Because it is possible, because you have a limited key space, it is possible to not know the password, but be able to calculate the hash and still get in, still authenticate. So, you don't have to crack the actual password.
Yeah, you just have to
get the collision or the password.
Yeah. That's why you want a strong algorithm with a big key.
Mhm.
Tools, yeah, you just need to know kind of high level. You don't need to know how they work, what they're doing. Mostly Brutus, online password cracking, Windows system back in October of 2000. So this has been around for quite some time. Rainbow Crack, hash cracking tool. Yeah, that's where it creates that rainbow table. Very time consuming, but again, once you get a rainbow table, you can feed that through very quickly and process. It just takes a long time to actually compute the rainbow tables. Oscar. So we have a special guest.
He is special.
He's not on the camera. It's our Director of Technical Services. He's here tonight visiting from out of town, so.
Careful what you say.
Yeah. This is the part he should be doing.
Oh, no, you're doing well.
We're gonna hear corrections from the back of the room on the cracking tool.
That's not true. That's wrong.
WFuzz, web application password cracking. Yeah, brute force. So WFuzz is brute force for web apps. The nice thing, and well, I think what's kind of funny is these are not the most recent ones that are out there, but the exam won't have those, right? Because it changes so fast in the real world. They really go with the ones that have stuck around, and you just need to know kind of at a high level what they're doing.
Hey Brad,
Yeah,
did you refer to another presentation related to authentication for them to look up? No?
I don't think so.
No?
Okay.
Oh, MFA.
Oh, Roger Grimes,
Roger
MFA.
Grimes. Yeah, 12 ways to hack MFA.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that might be
Yes,
it.
we did.
Thank
It
you.
was like 10 minutes ago, Lori. I don't remember
Well,
that.
Yeah.
Lori's gonna smack me the next time she sees me. Key enable is really cool. Yeah, sniffer. You can do a lot of things with that one. I don't know. I don't think you really need to know.
It still works because a lot of the stuff it does is, IP version 4 stuff, like
Mhm.
ARP poisoning attacks, you can use key enable. IP version 4 hasn't changed. So
Yeah,
even though that tool hasn't been updated in 5-6 years, it's still
functional.
works.
Yeah, and again, at the end of the day, what you're gonna need to know high level is how to tell these different tools apart if that comes up in the exam. You don't have to be able to say, well, here's how you run the tool. John the Ripper, that's a good one for password cracking. It's a fun one to play with. Weak passwords, they have a pro version, open source. Yeah. But primarily Linux, Unix, Mac, but yeah, you can do Windows as well. THC Hydra, haven't used that one. Network logon cracking, so.
You guys are still using Hydra?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't.
Keep us being.
I know, I need to. Lots of different modules, Windows, Linux. Again, fast network logon cracking tool. And then it's modular. Medusa, similar to Hydra. The big one from Hydra to Medusa is that last sentence, when cracking, you can do flexible inputs. So you can kind of adjust it on the fly.
Truth. Hashtag truth.
Off crack rainbow table. So you need to know. Primarily Windows, but LM and TLM can do XP, Vista, Windows 7, Rainbow. Yeah, off crack is Windows rainbow table cracking tool. I feel like I'm going way too fast for this. Are you guys? All right, no questions.
Give us a sign.
Are you
Maybe
still
a
awake?
A wink, a twitch.
I think, again, you don't need to know how to use the tools. You just need to know what they are, right? So at a high level, it's really kind of the recurring theme of the CISSP. You got to know a little bit about a whole lot of stuff. Loft crack, that's an alternative. Yeah, dictionary brute force, in addition to the rainbow tables. I don't think it would be there that it was acquired by Symantec and discontinued and then reacquired. Why did Symantec require that?
Because Symantec does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Big companies buying little companies and then usually driving them into the ground.
Yeah, that's like they did. They just bought them and closed it down.
Cisco's notorious for that.
Yeah,
The thing they haven't done that with is the Meraki's.
that's because it's really good.
I know, right?
Open datas.
Oh, they'll screw that up. Give them
Yeah,
time.
Umbrella, yeah.
They're still trying. Yeah, true. Umbrella is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
We just had it in the text stopped or detected.
Identified by, yeah,
Umbrella.
Umbrella.
That's good.
None of the endpoint or internal device network stuff found.
Maybe they learned their lesson finally. But man, I've never seen a company ruin more stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. AirCrack NG, that's Wi-Fi password cracking. So AirCrack Wi-Fi, it's an easy one to remember. Yeah, it's grabbing the encrypted packets. Get a live CD. There you go.
You know what that you just said? Get a life, CD.
Get a
You're
live.
talking to CD, get a life.
All right.
That's not what he said though.
No. Saltine, so it gives you one password to hash multiple ways. So you add some random value at the beginning of the password before you pass it through the hash. So that when you run that password through with a different one, it's not going to give you the same one hash, right? So you could put that password through multiple times. If you're randomly salting it each time, it's going to give you a different output. Yeah, so if you have like I said, same password from different users, it'll be encrypted differently. So you have to be able to understand and encrypt it, each salt or user, and then be able to tell at that point. What that does is it really makes rainbow tables ineffective, because right? The rainbow tables are taking the plain text and saying, here's the hash. Well, you don't know what that salt is going to be. It's a random value. So you have to determine that and then do it, and it just adds a lot of complexity. So salting your passwords is the way to go. So some talk about password management, right? So this is the default out of Windows for AD. Password history is 24. Max password age 90, minimum 2 days. So the main reason for that one, and a lot of people set that to 0, set it to 2 or more, but people can't just cycle through passwords and go back to their favorite one right away, which you will see. So if you have to change your password every 2 days, it kind of discourages that rather than just doing it in a half hour real quick. Max password age, 90 days, there's a whole bunch around that with the new NIST and Microsoft discussions that came out for the exam. You do want to have password age in place. Minimum, at least 8, I would argue 10 or 12 at this point. You have to have complexity, right? So we don't want to have a secure password as complexity.
Spring 2019.
Right?
No. That's a long one. No.
Storing your password using reversible encryption, don't do that. Kind of defeats the whole point of having it encrypted if you can just reverse it. So minimum for Department of Defense, Microsoft, yeah, users write down their passwords. You're doing it. Where's the first place you look if you're doing a physical?
Keyboard.
Top right drawer and then under the keyboard. Well, they don't want to do the keyboard first because they have to look. So they pull their drawer open and type it.
21.
That's it.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I guess. I have a Wikipedia page.
Nope. I drove a Land Rover.
All
Drove a Land Rover. Exclamation.
right. Complex passwords are harder to remember. But the whole point when you have that randomly generated password, right? If you can't remember the password, it defeats the purpose. People write it down. I think the best one is you gave me that password keeper that you saw somewhere. It's like a little accordion notebook that says like website, username, and password you would write down and keep in your wallet. It was pretty good.
Just do it in this set, make it along, would have never, ever changed.
And I mean,
Until you know it's compromised.
Until you know it's
They tell you
compromised.
when they compromise.
Yeah,
right.
every attacker's always called, hey, by the way, Evan, yeah, just wanted to let you know, I compromised your password, if you want to go ahead and change that.
Yeah, I still change mine. Mine are over 20 characters. I change it every 6 months.
21.
Yeah.
I drove a Land Rover.
All right. So those are all type 1, something you know. Type 2 is now something you have. This could be, you know, like you're talking about the RSA token, other thing, keys, car keys, credit cards, things like that. Those are something you have. The synchronous dynamic token, you'll need to know this. The timer or counter is synchronized with the authentication server. So when you register, it registers your token, either the app or the actual physical token with the server, so that it knows, the server knows what value should be on that token. Yeah, RSA Secure ID, or you know, now you have Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator. There's a bunch of them out there, but based on the time, there's the algorithm they both know. Based on the time, here's what the value should be. So I'm sure most everyone has seen it. Looks something like that. Got the little clock counting down. Everyone's used these, right? I hope. Asynchronous, not synchronized with the central server. So synchronous, they're both expecting the same thing. Asynchronous, no. So ChallengeResponse, you know, I don't think I've ever seen one of these in the real world.
Didn't RSA used to have some of these?
Well, I said I.
Oh, you, yeah, I'm old.
Well, so system says, hey, here's the challenge, and waits for the response. You then put that response in, it sends it back. Depends on, here, this is what it would look like, right? So challenge is displayed. Oh, actually, you know what? I have used this for recovering pre-boot authentication.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Hey, you need to put this information, right? So if a user forgets their pre-boot authentication, this is what I use it for. It would come up and you could recover your password, and it would have a code on the screen. You would then call into the help desk. They could go into the recovery screen, go to your computer, put in that code, and give you another code to put back in, right? So they're not synchronizing to each other. But that's how you then know that that's a valid challenge. And then type 3, something you are. So biometrics, right? And we'll talk more about some of these. There's a lot to know about the biometrics, but you know, one of the problems, well, I won't call my soapbox, but you can use biometrics to establish identity or authenticate, which to me is an issue. You shouldn't be using the same things, and especially when you can't change them, but that's okay. For the exam, you just need to know what these different types are. You know, we need to have concern around privacy issues. That's a big part, right? So when we're doing biometrics for the exam, privacy concerns should play part of your answer. And we'll talk through that, but that's something to keep in the back of your mind on this.
Quick quiz question. What's the proper way to say privacy in the UK? Thank you. It's just, it'll probably be on the test.
Yes, it's an audio, which is the following. You know, when you look at this in theory, when you do biometrics, it's data points. It's not the actual biometrics. It's the data points that make up, you know, the fingerprint or the facial recognition. It's just, so the actual amount of data that's stored is really small. Right? So 1,000 bytes or less. It's not a whole lot because it's just numbers. You will need to know these things. So not causing undue psychological stress to subjects and not introduce unwarranted privacy issues. So they give you multiple options for the different types of biometrics. That is something you need to consider. What are the different levels, right? So there's a certain security of the different types, and then what are the amount of privacy invasion that comes along with it. Usable by all staff, or compensating controls must exist. Big one, yeah, potential exchange of body fluids. So retina scan, where they come up and push against an eye cup, you could have, pink eye or some other sort of disease exchange. You have to keep these in mind for the exam. And then passive controls, so the iris scan is preferable because you don't have to actually physically touch your face to something. All right, so you're gonna go through enrollment. That's where you actually get signed up into the system. Important enrollment, one-time process should take 2 minutes or less, because we don't want to produce or put undue pressure or stress onto the staff or onto employees. So it should be a very quick process. Throughput is how long does it take to actually authenticate. So response time. So if I enroll my phone, it should take me less than 2 minutes to get that properly done. And then from there on, it should take 6 to 10 seconds to process it, to authenticate that's who I am. All right, so accuracy. This is it's a big one. The first one should be considered before implementing the control. There's 3 metrics. False reject, so it's somebody who should be in and gets rejected. False acceptance, I shouldn't get in, but I get accepted. And then crossover error rate, that's where those 2 meet. We'll go through that. All right, so false reject rate, type 1, you will need to know that. They will tell you type 1, type 2. They won't say false reject rate, false accept rate. They'll just tell you the types. So false reject rate, type 1, when an authorized person is rejected as unauthorized. Well, this is a problem, right? Because you have somebody who's supposed to be doing it and you're now causing a business impact or causing frustration for them. So we want to reduce false reject rates. False accept rate is when an unauthorized subject is accepted as valid. So type 2, what's the risk there? Somebody who shouldn't have access to potentially sensitive information now has access to that information. All right, so make sure you know the difference between type 1, type 2. What was the, somebody said last year, the way they remembered it is if you have a lot of false accept rates, you're in deep number 2. See, everybody will remember that.
I like it.
All right. All right, so accuracy. So false accept is worse than false reject. Yeah, we don't want false rejections, but I'd rather have to authenticate twice than have to explain to the OCC why I had a breach. It's kind of the theory behind it. So type 2 worse than type 1. 2 is greater than 1. I still like if there's too many false accepts, you're in deep number 2. So when you're looking at it, 40 data points for a fingerprint, you can reduce the accuracy by collecting fewer data points, or you can increase the accuracy by collecting more data points. So where is the balance? And that is what you call your crossover error rate. I thought that was a good transition, wasn't it?
It was very good.
Exciting.
It was smooth.
I think it kills it when you actually have to say that though.
Oh, crap.
So close. All right, so crossover error rate,
That's true.
which where your false reject and false accept are equals. You also see it maybe as the equal error rate. That is your measure of the accuracy of your biometric system. So yeah, as you get more accurate, right, as you're collecting more data points. Yes, I was right. I was like, wait, what? You'll get more accurate results, right? You're collecting well, wait.
Enrollment time will,
The
It's
accuracy,
slower.
wait, isn't that backwards?
actually, the biometrics increase.
False
acceptance
accepts will-
rise.
No, it should be lower.
That's true.
It is backwards.
Yep.
See, you're testing me, I caught it. Uh-huh. I thought I
So
was
that's
losing my
right.
mind there. Okay, so the more accurate it is, the more data points you're collecting, the more false reject rates you'll get.
The more data
Right.
points you collect, the more false rejects you'll get.
Right? That's
Yep,
what.
yep.
Yeah. See, I caught it.
You did catch it. I didn't realize I did it.
You can claim you did it on purpose.
No.
He's
Oh,
just
yes, I
messing.
did. Of course
Ah.
I did. I mean,
As accuracy, so the fewer data points you collect, the more likely you are to allow people that shouldn't come in to come in. Right? So the more you're collecting, the harder it would be to accidentally let someone in.
yes.
You're counting more points. There has to be more matches. So you're more likely to reject people.
Yeah, it's a tuning thing because you also get users, what do you call it when the users don't accept it? There's like a user acceptance rate. too,
Portion
right?
of.
If it takes too long to enroll, if it takes too long to actually authenticate, then, you've probably done that before. If you've been in
Forget
security
it,
for a
it's not
while,
worth it.
like made it too difficult for people and then they complain. That's not really in here.
That's when you just say,
but
too
if you-
bad, it's my way or the highway.
Right. Sometimes if you turn up the accuracy of a biometric enough, people will
Yeah.
refuse to use it. They'll
Yep.
just complain.
So
Business wins.
there you go. False accept, false reject, your EER or crossover error rate. So just know the difference between those three things, right? False accept, somebody who shouldn't be in is in. False reject, somebody who should be in is getting kicked out. Crossover where they meet. All right, any questions? All right, fingerprints. So you will need to know the difference in these different types of biometrics. They will ask you about this type of thing. I know what, at least they did. I would assume they still do. Fingerprints, most widely used. Smart cards can carry that. Yeah, so smart keyboard, you can unlock your computer with your thumbprint. It's small enough. Yeah, it's a mathematical representation of your minutia. So they have an algorithm that maps out your fingerprint, and if it changes, you don't get in. Well, that could be a problem. What happens if somebody loses a finger, has an injury, and has scarring? So these are things you have to take into consideration around that. Retina scan, so they're going to scan, laser scan of the capillaries on the back of the eye. It can seem intrusive, right? People don't really want laser scans of their eyes. And then health information. I was thinking about this today. Was it you that was, I think it was, I don't think it was you, where they had they were doing the retina scan, and they identified like why one guy was getting every couple of months the retina scan that he would get rejected. He had to go re-register. Turns out he had diabetes that he didn't know about.
Oh, that might have been Matt
I don't remember who that was.
Finley or something.
Anyway, so that's something you have to be concerned about, right? There's potential health. Now you've got HR issues going on, things like that. And then, yeah, the diabetes will change it. Pregnancy will change it. And then there's privacy issues around that. And then again, exchange of body fluids is possible. So know what a retina scan is, know what how it works, and what the negatives are for this one. Oh, there you go. That's very important. So it should not be used unless you really need to. There's other options. And that's what a retina scan machine looks like. So would you want to get in line and go push your face up against that with everybody else that works there? Probably not. Iris scans, these are passive. You take a picture of the pattern in the iris, and then it matches against that. It does the algorithm against your what's in the known. So you register with a picture, you go up to it, and it takes another picture, and it compares that with what's registered. Yeah, contacts, glasses is not as intrusive, right? You don't have to go put your eye up against a cup. Irises are unique. It is high accuracy, passive scanning, and no exchange of body fluid. So high accuracy and passive, much better than an iris or a retina scan. So that's kind of what that looks like.
Is it just one eye or both?
This would
This is
depend.
usually one.
Yeah, this one is, you could probably want to register both in case you have an accident and lose an eye. But yeah, you would just have one eye that would, I don't think I've ever seen a 2-eye scanner.
The other
Usually
ones, the
one.
retina scans
Retinas
do.
is too.
Don't you think the FRR and FAR would be more accurate if you could just measure both at the same time, or 2 fingerprints at the same time?
Yeah, but
I
then
suppose, yeah, it could, but
I think the trade-off is now what's the acceptance rate of the users, right? So now if they have to double the amount, do 2 at the same time, one doesn't read, it's kind of a hassle. They're not going to want to do it. So
well, and it doesn't
it's-
really make it any more accurate either, because they don't store the actual image.
it's just
They
the,
store, a mathematical representation of the image. So I think the security is more in the math
it's
of the
true.
image than the image itself, if that makes sense.
If
So
you
I
have a
don't think-
weak algorithm, it won't matter how many images you took.
Yeah, because I think if you did 2 eyes, the only reason why they make you enroll multiple fingerprints usually is in case something happened to your finger, you lost it or, burn,
Scar,
something like that.
yeah.
So,
When you scan, can you use either or do you have to use the same finger?
It would be whichever you registered
usually
with.
either or, like on my phone, on my iPhone, I think I have like
You can add
6 or 7 different fingerprints, and different angles too, because sometimes I'm not holding my phone the same way. You can do that, yeah.
Yeah, it's whatever you registered with is what they're going to check against. And then if they have a specific thing, they would tell you, use your right thumb first, and if that doesn't work, use your left thumb.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for the exam, you wouldn't necessarily need to know that, but it's good
That's good.
to have.
And we don't see, I can count on, I've probably seen an iris scan 3 times, 4 times maybe.
I don't think I've seen them in the movies.
Yeah, and I've never seen a retina scan in
No,
production.
I've been into pretty high sensitive data centers, and it's been this
These are
hand
really,
geometry.
these are really popular.
Man trap with hand geometry is the biggest that I've seen.
Yeah, usually it's a badge to get into the
uh,
trap and then a hand geometry.
Yeah, or a pin to get in, and then a geometry. So, so similar to a fingerprint, but it's your entire hand. So it's going to look at just the area. It's the same exact concept as a mathematical representation of your hand. So what it looks like is that you put your hand in the machine, rest it on there, punch in your pin, and it takes the reading when you register. And then every time after that, you punch in your pin, have your hand, and it compares your hand measurements with all those types of things against what's registered and whether or not that matches or not. And they'll tell you, put your finger up against the post so that you're aligned correctly.
I'm happy that you asked a question. So quiet usually. I like it.
Some newer ones, keyboard dynamics. So they are actually been able to put in and register and authenticate users based on their typing pattern. Nobody types the same. Absolutely. So if you now that you know about this, start paying attention to how you type, and it'll totally mess with your head. But right, you get specific habits. Do you hunt and peck? Do you how do you type with different rows? You can absolutely capture that and use that to validate if it's who that person is, or you could mimic them as well. Yeah, not impossible, but yeah, it's a good way to tell, how do you type your name? How do you type certain phrases? There's a pattern and a rhythm everybody has. And as you start typing now, you'll never be able to stop thinking of that. I know it messed with me. Dynamic signature, how you write your name, right? So the pressure you put when you're writing the different portions of your name, they'll check that. So that would invalidate potentially the forgery. And so even if somebody is able to forge it, it's not going to be the same pressure. It's not going to be the same rhythm as when you write your name.
Yeah, and forgery too.
You said you are gone next week, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you said forgery. They're probably wondering about forgery.
Voice printing. So subjects to a voice will state a specific sentence or phrase. The problem with this one is it is vulnerable to replay attack. Right? So if you get a recording of somebody saying something, you could then play it back and the system wouldn't necessarily know it would be the problem. So typically you'd see this in addition to, as part of that multi-factor approach. The other one would be random words that you have to put in place. So it would listen for how you say different letters and understand based on a recording if it matches up. Right? People typically say words a specific way. They have the learning to be able to tell.
Cool whip.
Cool, yes.
Whip.
Whip. Facial scanning, facial recognition. So that's a passive one, right? Everybody's heard about that. That was at the Super Bowl up here a couple of years ago. I'm sure they had it at the NCAA tournament. Not used for authentication, but you'll see it with law enforcement, security agencies for looking for potentially like high value targets. Airports, big sporting events, things like that. They're trying to find anybody.
Loss prevention.
Loss prevention, yeah, I don't know.
If they deploy it for marketing for facial recognition, they'll use it for LP too.
Yeah, I haven't seen any that have it. I don't know if I'm sure there are some that have it, but yeah. A hat 20 degrees down. Oh, there you go, Super Bowl. At every entrance, so they didn't find any terrorists, but they found 19 petty criminals. So yeah, casinos, that's a big one. Casinos use it all the time, right? People get kicked out for cheating. They're not gonna be welcome back in. And then, yeah, you have the iPhone X has it, although that I think that was the one that got beat by the pictures. I don't think they fixed that yet, have they?
I don't know. I don't know if it was the iPhone X or if it was.
I think that was Samsung. The iPhone
The
uses
Android,
infrared
yeah.
to do depth, so high-end
Yeah.
masks have beaten it, but the masks were $300 plus.
Yeah, depends on the target value.
Yeah, I think it's the Samsung.
Fingerprints, I know I have some issues with all of them. The phones have been beaten with like gummy bears.
Yeah.
Get a fingerprint on it and push it on there and it'll get beaten.
But then like for fingerprints, you have 3 different styles too. You have optical, you have the new, not sonar, but the sound wave one through the screen.
Oh, that's so new, that won't be.
Yeah, not on the test.
You won't until I get that one, but yeah. Yeah, we can do the fingerprint anywhere on the screen. All right. Type 1, type 2, type 3. Any questions?
Which error rate is the type 1 error?
FR.
Right, false read. Good. Yeah, I just want to memorize that.
Yeah. All right, centralized access control. Exactly what it sounds like. You are centralizing the access in one point for management. Single sign-on being authenticate once, and then access many. Okay. I'm gonna authenticate one time and then have access to all these applications. Yeah, 3 A's. So you wanna remember this for access control: authentication, authorization, accountability. Authorization, I've proven here I am who I said I was gonna be. Authorization, I can actually have permission to actually get to that. In that case, subjects allowed to take on an object. And then accountability, audit log. I can't deny I was the one who did it. There's logging that says you authenticated, you had authorization, and now we're gonna track that. Decentralized, IT admin to occur closer to the mission and operations. Distributed, Each site has local control. So think of centralized would be what? Active Directory, where you have a domain controller where everything happens. And then decentralized is right U.S. military, where if you're out in the battlefield, you have the ability to make these calls. You don't have to wait for a central place. You have a little bit more control locally.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's the warning down the bottom. Don't mistake decentralized with discretionary access control, because they are different things.
Yeah, and it will be spelled out. So centralized, think of your Active Directory, central.
Like
Point of
work
reference.
groups too. Work groups are
Yeah,
decentralized. Like Apple Macintosh computers often are decentralized.
Yeah.
They're not usually, part of a directory. They can be, but usually they're not.
yeah, kind of the standalone.
Those are the hardest ones to test too for security, because you have to authenticate with so many different systems.
Oh.
It's a pain in the butt.
But again, in the exam, decentralized will always be spelled out. So if it says DAC, it's discretionary. If it'll be spelled out for decentralized. Single sign-on, yeah, we just talked about that. Authenticate once, access many. Nice thing is, from an administrative standpoint, it's a lot easier, right? Once you get it set up, new user comes in and this needs to be provisioned, you just add them one place and then they have the right permissions. Somebody leaves or is terminated, you just have one place to go and cut access, and it's cut everywhere. So that's really what you need to know about single sign-on. Yeah, what are the benefits? Improve user productivity, developer productivity, and simplified administration. High level. We don't need to know how it actually works. How does Okta work? How do these different solutions work? That's not what we're looking at. What is single sign-on? Centralized, authenticate once, access many. So disadvantages. This is one of the things you'll need to know. Because they'll say which of the following has the following disadvantages are symbolic of what, or representative of what technology. So if you're going in after the fact, if you're going to try to put a SSO in place afterwards when everything's already in place, it's horrible, because you're trying to get all these different systems to now suddenly retrofit into one. If you're just building from scratch, you're starting new, it's great, it's the way to go. For an unattended desktop, well, you've authenticated once, you have access to many. If somebody leaves their machine unlocked, I now have access to everything they have access to, instead of needing to know multiple passwords. So just something to keep in mind. And then a single point of attack. I only have to attack one place to get a password, and then I have, again, access to everything. So there are some disadvantages, so you have to do that risk assessment and understand from the business perspective, is it worth it from a productivity and ease of management? Do we put additional controls in place to mitigate these? Just important to know. All right, the access provisioning lifecycle. After you choose your control model, we need to do the entire lifecycle, starting with provision. Right? We're going to create the account, set the password, any requests for change, what access they should have. If we're going to modify that account, how do we disable the accounts and how do we retire them? So we'll go through that here in just a bit. But really, when you look at this, you need to go the entire lifecycle. You have to account for all these parts. Lifecycle rules from IBM. This is a good way to remember this, right? Password policy, compliance checking, how to notify users before password expire, how inactive accounts, 30 days. Anybody check for inactive accounts on a regular basis? A lot of places, we've been in on where they had more inactive accounts than active. How you're not managing them, okay. Any new accounts that have not been used 10 days after activation, check for these things, right? We're reducing risk. And then deletion, they haven't been used for 30 days. And then when a contract expires. So they have things in place to check for third-party or contract accounts. All right, for user entitlement authorization creep, that's when somebody changes roles and their permissions just get added. So if I go from finance to HR, my finance permissions don't go away. I just get added to the HR group. Now I have access to both things, which I shouldn't have. Easy way to do it. So user rights should be routinely reviewed. I think the easiest way, just as a to fight authorization creep, is to treat job transfers as a termination and a hire from a permission standpoint. You can have an overlap period, but on this date, we're removing them from all the groups they were in and adding them to all the groups they need to be in. Now you might end up removing and re-adding to the same group, and I personally don't care. It's not like it's that hard to add, remove and add and manage that. And it prevents that authorization creep, permission creep. So yeah, user rights should be or must be routinely reviewed. And that's a pain to do as well in reality, because yeah, businesses don't like to actually do that. Federated identity management, SSO across orgs to the internet. Yeah, your Microsoft, Google, GitHub, so you're looking at SAML, OAuth, OpenID. It's from your local to the cloud. So federated identity management, we're doing single sign-on locally to the cloud. Because they're like, this is so easy. A couple of new ones, identity as a service. So web access for cloud-based applications. Yeah, web architected applications. You're just providing the identity as a service. Just know the difference between that one and then LDAP. LDAP is the open protocol, TCP, UDP 389, or secure, which is LDAP over TLS, 636, 3269. Know those ports. That'll be important. Yeah. Just memorize all the slides you've seen. That's it. The look of terror on everyone's face. Kerberos. So third-party authentication used to support single sign-on. You see this Microsoft. Kerberos, three-headed dog. So that's where it came from. Three heads meant to signify the 3A. So authentication, authorization, and accountability. You will need to know about Kerberos. A lot about Kerberos. So from the fact, network authentication on physically insecure networks.
Just talking.
About you, your presentation.
Yeah, we were critiquing.
I don't think
Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's okay. I was talking about you guys too, so it's all good.
Give my password again?
I was totally just typing things on there. So Kerberos, yeah, data stream integrity. So looking for modification or preventing unauthorized reading using a cryptographic system. You like Kerberos, right?
Yeah. Three-headed dog.
Yeah.
Guards the gate of Hades.
Yep. No, yeah, I think really just know that it's a network authentication system over insecure networks, right? You can't guarantee somebody's not plugging in. There you go. So Needham Schroeder symmetric key protocol is Kerberos.
Need ham. Must have ham Schroeder.
Right? That's what I was saying when I was smoking the Timberline. I need ham. All right. You can tell we're getting a little punchy as this goes on.
Always.
Yeah, so protocol session key between two parties to protect that communication.
Do you want a chair?
Secret, nah, I've been sitting all day.
It's true, but we're security people.
Kerberos, so know this, secret key, mutual authentication for clients and servers. And then current version, I guess it protects against network sniffing and replay attacks. That's important. I don't think you need to know the current version.
Doubt it.
All right, you will need to know these things about Kerberos. A lot of what you'll see is the drag and drops type of thing for this, or which of the following uses these components. So your principal is the user or your service. The realm is the network. So think of this from an Active Directory standpoint. It would be your Active Directory domain, your users, and the clients. You have a ticket. So that is the data that authenticates the client's identity. So they get a ticket that says, hey, here's who I am. We'll go through it. All right. The credentials, so it's your ticket and the key. It sounds so confusing, and it's really funny when we start actually getting into it. But you have a key distribution center, ticket granting system service, ticket granting ticket, and then client server. So what that looks like in reality, user says, hey, I'm Sam and I need a ticket to get tickets. So I'm gonna reach out and request a ticket from the ticket grant. I need a ticket granting ticket. I need to be able to say I can have access to this. Well, then the authentication server says you can have that if you can respond properly, your password. Okay, here's my password, give me a service ticket, here's your service ticket, and now I can actually go onto the network and say, hey, I've authenticated, I've got a ticket, I am who I said I was. So the initial request goes out to I need a ticket granting ticket. Sure, prove who you say you are. Here I am, if it matches, you get the ticket for setting up network connections, and that's where you get your client server session. That's super easy, right? It makes total sense. And you will need to know, but you will need to know that order. Here's another way to look at it. I'm not going to go through all that, but yeah, it's a good reference for you as you're studying. Go through it. Ideally, I think you just need to know what all the different portions on this one are. I think this is a really good slide. And just know what those different pieces actually do and how to identify them. Because you might get a question around, what is the, in Kerberos, what is the role that gives the ticket granting ticket? It's the authentication server. Right? And then after you've authenticated, after you've gotten that ticket granting ticket, what actually gives you a service ticket, a ticket granting service. So you just need to know those different pieces. All right, guys, all good? All right. You know more about how Active Directory works than you ever thought you would. Kerberos is the basis for Microsoft. So yeah, this is, again, just a little bit more in depth around how that actually works. Again, it's a good study guide there. All right, strengths of Kerberos. We'll need to know this. Mutual authentication. So we know both ways it's authenticated. Even if you have a rogue KDC, it's not going to have access to the actual keys. So you don't have to worry about, a fake key or the actual keys being compromised by a fake or rogue key distribution. And it's going to mitigate the replay attacks. So you have timestamps, right? So each of these sessions has a timestamp. It's only good for so long. And then you have to go through the process again and re-authenticate, get a new ticket. So how long is it? There's a specific window. You don't need to know the window itself, just that it mitigates replay attacks using timestamps. So each ticket is only good for a certain amount of time. Just a couple weaknesses. Unfortunately, it stores plain text keys of all the principals. So kind of a problem, but you know, what are you gonna do? Can't be perfect, right? So if your KDC was actually compromised, you have to consider every key in the realm compromised. So if you get compromised, right, they have the key, that's the keys to the kingdom, you say. You have a single point of failure for both the KDC and the ticket granting system, or service, I mean. So if either of those are down, no new credentials can be issued. So you are dependent on a single point of failure. You do have replay attacks for the lifetime of the authenticator. Again, how long is that? 8 hours, 4 hours, right? It doesn't really matter. You just need to know that the replay attacks are possible during the lifetime of that ticket. Yeah, any user can request a session key for another user, and it's not going to mitigate a malicious host because the plain text keys could be stored. So there are some weaknesses there. Sesame, that is the way to remember that. European, secure European system for
You
applications.
said European. Sorry.
Oh man, you're just trying to keep people awake. And...
Yeah, well, I was doing something else and I heard European. I'm like, no, I'm not.
All right, single sign-on, heterogeneous environments. So kind of think of it as the sequel to Kerberos. The biggest one, the way you're gonna look at these two apart, really, no plain text storage of keys. So if everything looks the same and it's encrypted keys, you know it's Sesame. And then it uses the privilege attribute certificate instead of the tickets, but very, very similar. It was that next generation from Kerberos. The biggest difference on these two, encryption of the keys. And you can go read more about it if you want. Radius, so remote authentication dial-in user service. So that's where you would see typically around VPNs. That's the biggest use of that one. Third party, the RFCs, I don't think you'll need to know those. It's good to know. Uses UDP 1812 and 1813. You will definitely need to know those. And then 16, 45, and 46. We'll still use those. So AAA system, right? So you would VPN in, you'd connect your VPN client, it would connect to the Radius server to authenticate, authorize, and then log, or provide accountability. So you'll need to know that the request and response attribute value pairs, and then you'll need to know the codes. So you'll see, trying to think if you had to know them in order or not, I don't remember, but you will need to know, I need an access request, right? So it's client going in, I need access, and then either gonna accept or reject it. The accounting request, so that's your accountability, and then access challenge. So, hey, I want access to this. Do they have permission to have access or not? All right. Everyone, no, Evan's not sleeping, he's reading.
No, I'm reading.
So there you go. All right, so access request is my username and password. I'm either going to accept or reject it, depending on if it's correct or not. And then the optional for that. So there you go. That would be a Radius server. So you have your VPN coming in to, it acts as a middleman from the client into the account database. All right, any questions on Radius? Who's used Radius? Say.
Steel belted.
That's radial.
No, but there's steel belted Radius.
No. So diameter was the successor to Radius. You'll need to know that. Improved, AAA. So it's still using the attribute value pairs, but it's going to have much more. So radius used 8 bits for AVP. You will want to know that. Diameter is 32. You won't need to know how many possible out there, but no, again, they'll give you the two. They're very similar. They act the same way. They may tell you, but you'll see in there that it's an 8-bit AVP versus 32-bit. Know the difference between those two. And that's the other one, single server to manage for many services. You would need radius, you'd need to basically one server per service. Diameter, you can manage multiple services coming in. More reliable using TCP, RFC 3588. All right, just memorize everything we've on the slides. That's all you need to do. Easy. TACACS Plus. So you'll need to know centralized access control system using SIN and ID and reusable password. UDP 49. Reusable passwords have a security vulnerability, so you would want to use TACACS Plus, which allows for 2-factor. They are not backwards compatible because that would have been helpful. TACACS Plus is TCP 49 for authentication. So TACACS is UDP 49, could use TCP, but primarily UDP 49. TACACS Plus, TCP 49. If you've done any of these things, it makes it a lot easier. If you haven't, it's just going to be memorizing all the differences and being able to tell them apart. Similar to Radius. Radius only encrypted the password. TACACS Plus, all data below the header. That's another way to tell. So describe the behavior and then say, it was encrypted or it was intercepted and the password is encrypted, or everything below the header was encrypted. Kind of a giveaway, what are we talking about here? All right, any questions? No? We're going so fast. You guys are gonna get out of here early. I'll have to slow down. Interrupt me more. All right. They're all like, no, please.
I'll think of something.
I'm sure you will. Here's the thing. We are over the hardest part, right? Where we've gone through all these security models. This is stuff that a lot of people have done. So it comes a little bit more naturally. If I'm going too fast or skipping over it, because I've
Click on the link and go to RFC 1334 and let's read it.
That will definitely slow things down. All right, PAP, Password Authentication Protocol, no, not strong. Password is sent over clear text, or the network in clear text. That's not strong. When it's received, it's authenticated and validated, but because it's in clear text, that's not good. So don't use PAP. CHAP, challenge handshake. So this is protection against playback. Central location that challenges remote users. So the secret is sent over, it's only known between the authenticator and the peer. Secret's not sent. So it's gonna ask a question. Well, here, rather than me trying to explain it, let's use a graphic because that's way easier. Username in a random packet. Response is username in the encrypted packet. So then only the server is able to decrypt that, right? So you're not actually able to tell what that secret is. The packets are the same. We're good to go. Right, so you send it over, you're gonna encrypt it, send it back. Yes, we're good. We're all set. If it fails, authentication fails. If that packet that comes back encrypted, if it's not decrypted to be what they're expecting, doesn't work. You're kicked out. So it's handshake. Does that make sense? All right. AD domains, we'll need to know about this. Use the concept of domains, primary means to control access. You want to know Microsoft uses Kerberos, and it's been fully integrated with Windows since 2000. each domain separate authentication process and space. Yeah, domain contains different users, different network access and, or I'm sorry, assets and objects. Know the difference with a two-way trust, one-way trust. I trust Evan, Evan doesn't trust me.
You totally
That's
trust
one
him.
way.
No.
Okay, so two-way. So
Yeah.
I trust, Oscar trusts me, I don't trust Oscar.
I trust you and you trust Oscar, so that's a transitive trust.
Now you're gonna confuse them. Two-way trust, Evan and I trust each other.
It's true though.
So if I have credentials in my domain and it's both ways, Evan will trust those credentials. Same the other way. One way, if Evan trusts me, they can use my credentials, but it won't go the other way.
One way and two way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's transitive and non-transitive.
Yeah,
So if I
now we're
trust
gonna go through
Him
it.
and he trusts you, I trust you. That's transitive if
Through Brad's trust.
through Brad's trust.
Yeah.
But if it's a non-transitive trust, I can trust Brad, and Brad trusts you, but I don't trust you.
Everyone totally confused.
Well,
All right, so let's go through that slowly.
Yeah,
One way, right? So it's a one-way trust. If I trust Evan, Evan's domain, I will trust the user credentials coming from Evan's domain.
my domain.
But Evan doesn't trust the credentials going
Right.
the other way. It's only one way is trusted. Two-way trust, we back and forth, two-way street. Okay? Non-transitive trust is exactly that. If I trust Oscar and Evan trusts me, non-transitive, Evan does not trust Oscar. There's no connection there,
Doesn't transit his domain,
right? Go through.
the trust.
Transitive, Evan's gonna, if we have a full trust, Evan's gonna trust anyone I trust.
Yeah. It's
So
just
our
whether
trust
that-
goes through.
That intermediary domain is transitive or not.
Does that make sense? Does that help? You're still totally confused.
No, I think
No,
that's
okay, good.
that's on head nodding.
Yeah.
For most of them.
How's it going online? Chad, you awake?
We're talking through email.
You and Cheddar?
Yes, I'm awake.
There he is.
Like, give us a dog bark or something.
Rough.
Nice. Chad's in a good mood today.
I like
All
Cheddar.
right, so another transition, access control modes. Three primary models: discretionary access control, mandatory access control, non-discretionary access control. We'll need to know the difference on these. So we're going to talk through them. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but they have a specific purpose. All three have very specific purposes. Discretionary. So the subject gets full control of the objects they've been given access to, including sharing with other subjects. So Unix and Windows, this is what they use. If you're on a machine, you can give access to others because you have full control. If you have downside, if you have make a mistake, you can have loss of confidentiality. You don't have a lot of control. You're trusting those that have full access to do the right thing. Yeah. Mandatory. So this is where you would have more in government, military, right? That's the way mandatory is military. It's kind of how I think I would remember it. Subjects and objects have your clearances and labels. We've talked about that. And the subject can only access an object.
What, now I was wondering, is there any current or former military here? No? Okay.
Okay.
I always like to say thanks. Big deal. No, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
I just thought of military because you said military.
Doug's usually here, he is.
Yeah. My father was 20 years in the Marine Corps. My mother was 6. And I got like every cousin, uncle, grandfather. I was an only child, so I grew up on base. Felt like I served already. It's tough growing up on base.
Bet. So subjects cannot share objects with other subjects who do not have the proper clearance, right? So if we're at top secret, we can't share down. We can't give it someone with secret access to that. Confidentiality, it's very difficult to implement, very expensive. Mac systems, Honeywell's, yeah, SCOMP and Purple Penelope, which was developed by the government, and then Linux intrusion detection, LIDS. But yeah, mandatory, it's all very regulated, all on
So it's Penelope,
clearance
it's not
and
Penelope?
label.
It's
Only,
like Penelope. I'm going with Penelope.
No.
What do you think, Penelope or Penelope?
Penelope sounds good to me.
Penelope, we just overruled you.
But I,
On the
who might
exam,
argue?
on the exam, it's purple Penelope.
There you go. What's going on here? Is it? There it goes. All right, non-discretionary or role-based access control. This is what we're probably all most familiar with. It's what, kind of Active Directory uses. You get grouped into roles and have a defined role with permission. So you have users put into groups, which is their role. The groups are given permissions. Roles are kept separate on the system. Yeah, it's a type of non-discretionary access control because the users don't have the ability to add people, right? So if you're in an Active Directory on a network, they can't grant other people access to a file share that they have access to. Whereas with non-discretionary, if it's on their local machine, they can share it with whoever. Yeah, task space would be another one. Writing prescriptions, restoring data from backup, opening a help desk ticket, things like that. But so just non-discretionary, it's a free for all, right? I can give access to anyone. If I have full control, I can do whatever I want with it, share it with whoever I want. Mandatory, it's military, very regimented. Yeah, labels, clearances. And then non-discretionary or role-based. It's the way to think of that. There you go. We are going to finish early.
Nice.
Like way early.
So I got a question for those three.
Well, not
Yes,
anymore.
another question.
No.
Can you ask it slowly, please?
Do they,
Too
on
fast.
the test, do they ask you
Act like you didn't hear it.
what are the security models fall into each one of those categories? Or is that just totally separate, you know?
Are the security models from like class 2 or 3? You mean?
Yeah.
All
Can
of
you guys hear that online, by the way? Did you hear the question?
Yes.
Okay.
Do they fit
They
nicely
will.
into the old security, kind of those security models? And from my memory, actually working with this, discretionary access controls come in at C2, and then mandatory come in at B1. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I think it's like Bella Padula, for instance, is that it? And that is a mandatory. That is a mandatory access control. But I don't think it'll be testable.
Yeah, I don't think they link.
The two
Yeah.
domains into it?
I don't think so.
No, it would be what is the security model and then what is the access control model, right? It would be two separate questions. They wouldn't say which access control model meets which.
This or
right.
that?
I don't think you would see that.
No, I don't think so, because a lot of those, I don't even know, like Rizzo Ullman, I don't know what that one would be. Like,
Isn't that a pasta?
that's fake spaghetti.
Oh, risotto.
Fake spaghetti's in pasta.
Oh, yeah, there you go. All right.
Joke. Should I look for a joke? I can find a joke.
All right, so content, context, dependent access controls, rule-based. I think when you're looking at this is going to add to the DAC, but it is defense in depth. Yeah. A good example, I like that one. If everybody can have access to the HR database to view their details, but if somebody attempts to access the CIO's record, it's going to be denied. The rule is I can access mine, but nobody else's. So applies additional context before granting the access. Could be time, that's a big one. You can access the system between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. That would be a rule-based access control. See that maybe on VPNs, remote access, that'd be a big area. All right, Look at that. Half hour early. You guys are welcome.
Holy crap.
I mean, we have to make up for the one that went like 45 minutes late.
Well, so being that we have a half an hour,
Yeah.
we can, I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah.
We could
Well, we can
call it off for a half an hour, or we could go through some
Wanna go
practice
through
tests.
tests.
Then go through some, like from CCure, some of those practice exam
Yeah.
questions. Okay.
Sure.
That'll help kind of reinforce some of those things, because you get to choose, I think, in there, in that test
Yep.
engine, don't you, which domains you want to test on?
So did everyone get the email with the code and everything to get with the link
To get the discount?
and to
or
get the
whatever?
discount? Look back from, make sure we have Brandon send that out again.
Brandon.
Gosh,
Brandon.
ccure.education. If you sign up, I think the code is FRSecure. It's like 10% off. Can you guys see that online before I keep going?
Brandon.
Okay, I'm gonna say yes then.
Brandon.
It was on the April 30th email that he sent out.
There you go, April 30th. Perfect. So you can see I was grabbing some questions. Two different modes, test mode, study mode. Study mode will show you the answer and the explanation. Test mode is, you don't find out if you got it right or not till the end. What I would, well, we'll go through it, but what I did is I went through test mode a bunch of times and then did a test with only ones that I missed and did those in study mode. Oh, what did I do on? All right, which domain should we do? Should we go back to do the first one and see how they paid attention? I think we should.
I think so.
Pro, we'll just do 15 questions. All right,
We're doing pro?
we are. We don't want those easy questions. All right,
B.
what is the most critical piece to disaster recovery and continuity planning? Staff training, security policy, availability of backup information processing facilities, or management support? And here's the best part, if we get this wrong, get it wrong. Oop, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Any guesses?
What is it?
I
don't even
think I
hear
know
you.
which one I'm going with. Most critical piece for DR and continuity planning,
People.
management support.
Oh, management support, totally.
Boom, look at that.
Yeah.
So you can see why, because without management support, you're never gonna go anywhere.
It's planning, it's not
And you get fired.
executing, it's planning.
Yep. So it'll tell you why on there and where to find it. It's kind of nice.
Good game.
All right. Periodic review of user account management should not. Management authorizations are up to date. Conformity with the concept of least privilege. Active accounts are still being used, or strength of user chosen passwords. So what review of user account management when you're doing that review, what should we not worry about? Well, we want to know if their authorizations are up to date, right? Hey, this person is in these groups. Should they be there? Okay. Least privilege, do they actually need to be in these groups? Are the accounts still being used? Yeah, it's important. We don't really, when we're doing account management, we're not looking at strength of passwords.
Yeah.
Right, no pressure. That's why the last class is so much
Did
fun.
you get it right?
Of course.
Okay. Of course. Of course. Dumb question.
Right?
I get it.
That's the arrogance.
That wasn't arrogant. That was confidence.
There you go. Business continuity plan is an example of which of the following? Preventative, detective, corrective, or compensating? I would say, I'm gonna go with preventative is, what is it, what is having the plan?
I can't read it.
Preventative, detective, corrective, or compensating, BCP. I'm leaning between, well, it's not detective, we know that.
It's corrective.
I was gonna go corrective or compensating, but Compensating isn't, yeah, it's not, you're not a
You're not preventing.
right,
It's corrected.
it's corrective.
Yeah.
After the fact, what are we doing to correct the problem?
I got 1 for 1, you guys. I'm quitting over my head.
I was just trying to talk
Going
them
back to
through it.
work.
Okay.
Oh,
All right. That's a good one. I'm not going to read the whole thing, right? Okay, what is the best reason as to why senior management is not willing to enact your plan? All right, well, now I can have to go back and actually read it, and I can't read it from there. Oh, okay. So why did senior management not react to the plan? Best reason. So what, again, what is the most correct? There could be multiple of these that are going to be, yes, this is why. What's the most correct? They were not included in any of the BIA assessment meetings. That's typically a good one, right? We haven't gotten management support. We're not including them. I'm keep that one on the list. A BIA was not performed. Maybe. They were not included in any of the risk assessment meetings. Okay, that's probably pretty good. Business case was not initially made and did not secure. Oh, well, there you go. Right. So you actually have all those would probably be accurate on themselves, which is the most correct. I didn't get management support from the start. COBIT was developed from COSO. Which of the choices below describe COSO's main objective and purpose? Sound risk management approach within financial? No, I don't think so. Ensure fraudulent financial reporting cannot take place. Isn't that Graham Leach Bliley, I think? So I don't think it's around that. Risk management system used for protection of federal systems, corporate culture, and policy development. Man, I don't remember this one. COSO.
what about it? Banking.
What is it? Is it banking?
Yeah.
So risk management around banking?
Yeah.
I talked myself out of the right answer. Nope,
No.
that one.
What is that one?
There was 2 financial ones.
Oh,
Fraudulent financial reporting cannot take place.
yeah.
I thought that
I
was-
just knew it was banking. I didn't know the answers. I can't see them.
Yeah, it's okay. All right, well, we got that one wrong. All right, we'll keep it wrong. All right, we're not going to read the big long paragraph until we look and see. This type of authentication is the oldest form and not suitable for environments requiring high-level security. Oh, okay, well, I don't care about that whole paragraph, do I? Just save how much time? Something you know. There you go. You guys are killing it, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, same thing. We're not going to read the whole paragraph. What is it called when chunks of memory are reused to retrieve information or other sensitive bits of data? You know it or you don't. That's memory reuse. Stack smashing, we didn't talk about that at all. Memory overflow, we didn't talk about. Buffer overflow, that's an attack. Reused, it even tells you. All right, look at that, another long paragraph. All right, what is the best practice involves delineating work functions so no single person has access to a string of duties. Yeah, let's see. Financial gain, yeah. Separation of managers, no. Separation of duties, you'd have multiple. Let me see, separation of people, rotation of duties. No, that would be to try and identify that if you know every 2 weeks you're going to rotate to and somebody else is going to be doing it. Oops, that's not what I wanted to click. It was separation of duties. Isn't this exciting?
Mm-hmm.
These are actually really good questions. BCP and DRP address integrity of the CIA triad, availability, confidentiality, and integrity of the triad, the availability or the confidentiality. Well, they're talking about availability, right? A momentary power outage is a spike, surge, fault, or a blackout.
Fault.
Yeah. All right. Job. which term describes the component of managing permissions to objects on a network? So access matrix, access terminal, access control, or identification controls. You guys should get this one. We just talked about it.
Yeah.
Which of the following is not a management control? Security awareness training, data classification, encryption technology, or personnel hiring policies. Well, it tells you right there, it's a management control, right? It's people, encryption technology, right? Training is a people skill, data classification is people, hiring policies, it's around people. I would go with encryption technology. I'm gonna get one wrong after I'm confident and it's gonna just backfire. It'll happen. Which of the following can be described as a process to conceal data into another file or media known as security through obscurity? Steganography, right? We're gonna hide the message in a picture so that you don't even know the message is going across. Which of the following makes humans the biggest security risk? Social engineering, biometrics, logon credentials, or dumpster diving? Social engineering. All right. We just got that one, but you gotta be careful
The
because,
second one down.
yeah, if you're not paying attention, that'd be easy, especially you're 90, 100 questions in.
Because you see the photograph in there and you think,
Oh.
oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, the ography, steganography, not stego, yeah, whatever that top one says.
Single photography.
Yeah. Is that it? That was it. Submit for grading.
What's the test say run you off the top of your head?
It's on there. I think, I want to say it's 3 months it's under $100 or something, around 100 for 3 months of access.
I think a month was 69 bucks, 3 months was 99 bucks.
It is 120, something like that. Yeah, I don't know. There's a
I was looking at Reddit, they had BONSET or BONOS test, and then there was some other kind of test that they were talking about.
Yeah, there's a couple out there. I can't speak to those. I didn't use them. I use this exclusively.
Okay.
When I practiced, I didn't have the resources to know where I was at. I ended up doing like 4,800 test questions. Yeah, a little bit of a glutton for punishment. It worked, right?
That's a lot of test questions.
I basically did the last month at 250 a day for the last month.
Paid off though.
Yeah, first time, I'll take it. All right, results. Did we pass?
Yes.
Yes. And then you can also do, here, results. This is a good one. You can use a timer. So you can kind of get an idea of how quick you're going, right? Because it's really easy to kind of lose track when you're going through it. We'll go, and the last class will really be focused on it, on tips and tricks, but since we had a little extra time, you know, it's between 100 and 150 questions. You have 4 hours to do it. It's now adaptive. So it's gonna be anywhere in that range. You can do the math on figuring out where you're at.
Like I said, if you read that sentence right above below the paragraph,
Yeah.
you save that much time just reading that instead of the rest of the garbage if it's not pertinent.
Now, the one thing you have to remember, you can't go back anymore, right? So you do need to, with the adaptive test, you have to answer it. You can't skip a question.
Flag and go back.
No, that's changed with the adaptive. But it's also half the questions or less, right? I mean, when we did, it was 250 questions in 6 hours, and you had to answer all of them. It didn't matter. Here you can, you know, if you prove that you're competent in those domains, it just moves on. 100 questions is the lowest, up to 150. We've done people that did both.
Is the test kind of set up where your group of questions are all in one domain before you move to another domain, or you bounce?
It's all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that would be, you can't get you in a single mindset.
Yeah,
And you might have a paragraph with a whole bunch of information and then questions are on different domains, but it's the same data set that you're looking at to answer those questions. So they'll throw it all over the
will they
place.
keep that paragraph on to the next question?
Yeah, it'll be, so like, whichever one had, oh, that's when we did wrong. You all, hold on. Find out. Wrong one. It'd be, I don't know where I can jump to it. Okay, so you might get a sentence like this, but then there'll be different questions and it'll go, and then the next slide, it'll have the same
paragraph?
It'll have the same paragraph,
Okay.
but then ask a different set of
I was
questions.
thinking, oh, now I gotta remember what was.
No, it'll have it on there for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is kind of, this one was all bold. You had one test question that I think
Yeah.
the top part of the paragraph was light colored and then the.
That's more what you would see. I think, here we go. This is really, yeah, you'll see like this long paragraph full of information. Again, it may not even be relevant to this question, but then you hit the next button and it'll be the same paragraph. And then it'll say something delete.
Yeah, I was wondering, see how this one is not bolded in the paragraph? Is
Right.
that how the tests are? If it's not bolded, it's not needed to answer your question, or is that just kind of how they wrote this one?
It'll be separated out. I don't know if it's bolded or not, but you'll have the question, like the data paragraph, and then the question will be separated.
Okay.
So you'll be able to know, just skip the big paragraph, read what they want, and then go back and figure out what you need. Any questions from online, Chad, Lori? No? Okay. You guys want to do another one or go home?
Do
Another one? All right. The online people didn't answer, so we're doing another one. Here we do. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I did not.
Can you pick multiple domains?
Yeah. Yes. Shift and select the ones you want, or control select. So we'll do one from what we've already done. Unattempted. I'll have the timer activated. Which is the following is not an outcome of a vulnerability assessment? Quantitative loss, formal approval of BCP scope and initiation, qualitative, and defining critical support areas.
B?
I would say B.
Yeah.
You could have qualitative, quantitative, or critical support out of a vulnerability assessment. You're not going to have a formally approved BCP scope out of a vulnerability assessment. UTP comes in several categories. Categories are based on diameter, how thick the shielding is, level of performance, the length of the cable. It's, yeah, level, because I said unshielded, so we know it's not that one. Yeah. UTP category, the tighter the wind indicates the shorter the rating and resistance against interference, the slower the rating and resistance, the higher the rating and its resistance. And then against, oh, we gotta read the whole thing. All right, against interference and crosstalk, or higher, the longer the rating against interference and attenuation. Well, we want, yeah, we know with the tighter it's against the interference and crosstalk. To understand whys in crime, and understand, it is necessary to understand MOM. Which of the following is not a component of MOM? Wow, I don't remember that one. Methods, opportunity, means, or motivation. It'd be, it's, no, it's the, I think it's method, which is not a component. I think it's methods.
That's most, yeah.
Whew. Which of the following statements pertaining to the security kernel is incorrect? Security kernel must be small enough to be able to test it and verify it in a complete, comprehensive manner. Security kernel is an access control concept, not physical control. Kernel must provide isolation, and security kernel made up mechanism fall under TCB and implements the enforced reference monitor concept. Go with security kernel. Ooh, let's see. Put my mouse off there, so let's click it.
Click it or ticket.
So is that kind of the third one where it says it must be tamper-proof?
Let's see,
I can't read.
Security kernel must provide isolation for processes carrying out the reference monitor concept, and they must be tamper-proof. Oh, man, that's a tough one. This is that straight memorization that as soon as you take the test, you forget.
I would think A, because I mean, we don't care if it's small. It should be small, but like, you can have good
Well,
stuff
but
that's not small.
It needs to be tested. You need to be able to test it and verify it. Mechanisms. So I'm pretty comfortable not saying it's B or C. It has to be small enough to be tested and verified. For some reason, that's triggering something from.
I'm about to see on this one.
You think so?
I mean, it provides oscillation. We know that for processes.
Yeah.
Think of Spectre, right?
Versus the comp. D is probably not it. A or A or C. But for some reason, I want to C.
I mean,
This is a tough one.
I actually think it's D. But,
You think it is?
yeah,
All right.
but I don't know.
Vote in the class. C, D,
So doesn't it have to be
A.
process isolation?
B. You going with which one? Oscar?
I'm voting C.
C? All
Yeah,
right.
it's gonna
It's
say-
Oscar's fault if it's wrong.
Yeah, sure. I'll take all the blame.
Ah. Which one is it?
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, access control on physical.
Is that me?
Yeah.
I get it?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's logical.
Yeah.
The thing that threw me off on,
Oh, reference monitor is the access control. Okay. F, C, so you're not going to get all of them.
totally gonna pass this test.
All right, Diffie-Hellman, what is it used for? Got to know this.
encryption?
Key exchange.
Yep.
As you get through this, that's going to be one. That's a gimme. What is Diffie-Hellman? Diffie-Hellman key exchange. Just gonna have to memorize it. Sounds easy, but yeah, this is about beyond human safety, things like that. This is knowing that will be a gimme on there. Attack initiated by an employee authorized to access system resources but uses them in a way not approved by those who granted the authorization is known as what? Inside attack, outside attack, active or passive? It's an insider. Order be effect. All right, which term best describes software that lets multiple services on one computer or multiple computers to interact as one? Signalware. Nice. Firmware, embeddedware, middleware. I'm gonna go with middleware. Yeah, that's not even a thing. Not even sure what embeddedware. All right, same thing. We can skip that whole thing. We need funding to update all of our devices to the latest version to be more secure because clear text. Yeah, it supports encryption. Now, there will be ones where you do actually have to go back and read the paragraph. We just haven't had any yet. How many bits in an IPv6 header? Ooh,
8. Oh, header.
yeah.
Yeah.
Huh? So the address, the IPv6 is what, 128
So 6.
bits. What do you guys think? Memorization.
32.
What is
We
it?
said 32. IPv6 header. How many bits?
It's little.
And it's, I think it's 32. 32, 64, 128, or 256.
Post was the
Oh,
No,
yeah.
Oh, no, wait, you're right. It's the first 64 is the,
I don't know, IP version
Right.
6.
no, it is,
No.
see,
Is it?
no,
That's the
What?
entire thing.
that doesn't seem right. That's a bad question is what that is. That was,
There is only a header and a payload. That doesn't, that's a terrible question.
wow. That was a poorly worded question. That's the only downside is they are submitted by people, so sometimes some are better than others.
Well, if you think about it, you're not sending a mask.
Yeah.
Like IP version.
Yeah. All right. FTP, TFTP, SNMP, SMTP. What level of the OSI model?
Application.
16.
Presentation? Huh?
Application.
I'm not answering this one. I'll make you guys answer it.
What is it?
FTP, TFTP, SNMP, what level?
Yeah, it's definitely 16.
Come on.
Application.
Good job. Symmetric encryption key. Standard has been the official encryption key of the US government since 2002. Triple does AES, RSA, or PKI.
AES.
The Gaussing. What does it work on except video, floppy, magnetic, or read-only media?
Read-only media.
Read-only is what, CDs and DVDs. And that's what, from the test perspective. You can have lots of other types of read-only media. Just keep in mind from the test perspective, from the book, what are they looking for? All right, which of the following presents the biggest risk to active online password guessing? Leaving traces of your identity on the target, account lockout, taking up too much bandwidth on your ISP and getting your account blocked, or it is easily detected. Account lockout?
Yeah.
No?
No,
Easily, no? Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
interesting.
Suppose if you leave that.
Yeah, it could get you arrested, that's true. I guess I read that wrong. That's all right. Which best describes the condition where an application uses poorly written encryption to securely encrypt and store sensitive data? Poorly written. Insecure cryptographic storage, secure cryptographic storage, clear text, or rich text. Well, it would have to be insecure cryptographic storage because the others kind of eliminate themselves.
Yeah.
All right. All done. I think we got 100% because I changed the answers to the ones we got wrong.
I know, I missed.
Oh, 93.
That's me.
Thanks, Oscar.
Yeah.
So to give you kind of a preview of what that test is going to look like. How's everyone feeling so far after seeing those questions? Overall, those are pretty representative of what you would see. And we'll go through and do more as we go.
How'd they do?
We passed. Because they kept the right
As a
answer.
class.
Passing ain't gonna
Pass
cut it.
eventually.
Passing ain't gonna cut it, guys. We need perfection. Security is one of those things, if you don't get it right, we're screwed.
Yeah, there you
Yes,
go.
you have to secure 100% of everything.
Exactly. Eliminate risk.
Shut it down.
100%.
Well, I'll go look in my
All right.
office for the easy button.
There you go. All right, thank you everyone online. We'll see you next Monday. No class this Wednesday.
Yeah. You won't see me,
See you
but I'll
next
call
Wednesday.
in.
You'll see me.
I'll call in and do the, I'll see what kind of car I get.
I can't wait.